say this house is empty, but every time it rains, someone walks inside. The footprints don't lead out, they only lead upstairs. And every storm, that third step creaks like someone is coming down. No one lives here. No power. No caretaker. So who lights the room? If you ever hear it, don't look up. And whatever you do, don't follow it upstairs. Story 1. The Man Inside the Rain House. I was 18 when I decided to spend the night inside the abandoned house at the end of Willow Creek Road. It wasn't a brave decision. It wasn't even about exploration. I had just gotten into a fight with my parents, one of those screaming matches where everyone says things they don't mean. I grabbed my backpack and left before midnight, walking through steady rain toward the only place I knew nobody would come looking for me. The house had been empty for as long as anyone could remember. Locals called it the Rain House because no matter how long it stayed vacant, the roof always leaked in the same places. Water ran down the broken siding, even during light storms, giving the whole place a soaked, rotting appearance. I'd explored it once before during the day with friends. Broken windows, molded carpet, old furniture left behind, like the owners had stepped out and never returned. That night, the rain made everything louder. Each drop hitting the tin porch awning echoed unnaturally through the darkness. I climbed through the side window we had used before. My shoes hit the warped wooden floor with a dull thud. The house smelled like wet wood and something faintly metallic. I turned on my phone flashlight and moved carefully through the living room. The furniture hadn't changed. The couch still sagged. Wallpaper peeled near the ceiling. Rain tapped against cracked glass in an uneven rhythm. It felt empty, too empty. I set my backpack down in what used to be the dining room and planned to sit there until morning. The storm outside felt heavy, isolating. No cars passed on that road at night. No houses close enough to see light from. Around 1:15 a.m., I heard the first sound that didn't belong to rain. A slow footstep. Above me, I froze. There was a second floor, but most of it had partially collapsed years ago. Nobody sane would walk up there. Another step. Slow. Measured. I told myself it had to be water, wood expanding, something structural shifting. Then it happened again. A clear, heel-to-toe step, moving from one side of the upstairs hallway to the other. The rain suddenly felt quieter. I turned off my flashlight instinctively. Silence pressed in. The footsteps stopped. For nearly 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then a new sound started. Descending steps, coming down the staircase. The old staircase had a distinctive creak on the third step from the bottom. I knew that from exploring before. When I heard that exact creak, in the darkness, my stomach dropped so violently. I nearly gagged. Someone was coming down. I backed slowly into the corner of the dining room, trying to stay silent. The figure appeared first at the edge of my vision. A tall shape, outlined faintly by lightning. He stepped fully into view. Tall, too thin, wearing what looked like an old security uniform. Or a police-style shirt. Faded, mismatched. No badge, no patches I recognized. His face looked pale under the lightning flashes, almost colorless. He didn't seem surprised to see me. "You shouldn't be here," he said calmly. His voice didn't echo like mine had earlier. It sounded normal, grounded, real. For a split second, relief washed over me. Maybe he was a caretaker. Maybe someone checked the property. "I'm just staying out of the rain," I said quickly. He tilted his head slightly. "Out of the rain," he repeated. Then he took one slow step closer. The smell hit me immediately. Not alcohol, not body odor. Something sour and old, like damp fabric sealed too long. "Did you come alone?" he asked. I nodded without thinking. That made him smile. Not wide, just enough to stretch his cheeks unnaturally tight. "That's good," he said. Lightning flashed again, and for a fraction of a second, I noticed something wrong. The uniform didn't fit. The sleeves were too long, bunched at his wrists, like it belonged to someone else. "You can't stay down here," he said quietly. "The dry room is upstairs." Every instinct screamed not to move. "I'm fine here," I said. He stepped closer. Rain pounded harder outside. "No," he said softly. "It's safer upstairs." The way he said safer made it worse. Behind him, the staircase disappeared into complete darkness. No lightning, no light. He extended one hand toward me. "Come on," he said gently. I shook my head. His expression didn't change. but his eyes did. They sharpened, like he was calculating something. "Your parents are worried," he said suddenly. My heart stopped. "How do you know that?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned slowly toward the staircase. "Come see," he said. That's when I noticed something behind him. Mud, fresh, tracking from outside into the house. But I hadn't seen footprints when I entered, which meant he was already inside. Before me, the third step creaked again as he placed his foot on it. He wanted me to follow. Instead, I ran. I bolted for the side window. Behind me, he shouted something, words lost in the rain. But his tone changed. No longer calm, angry. I didn't look back. I crashed through the window, slipped onto the wet grass. Mud grabbed at my shoes, but adrenaline pulled me upright. As I sprinted toward the road, I heard the front door slam open. Heavy footsteps. The porch. Then gravel. He was chasing me. Rain blurred everything. I ran until headlights appeared. I waved wildly. The car slowed. A sheriff's deputy. My parents had reported me missing nearly an hour earlier. When officers searched the house later that night, they found no one. But they found something else. Upstairs at the end of the hallway, a mattress, fresh food wrappers, and a pile of uniforms. Security, police-style shirts, work jackets, all different sizes. A week later, the deputy told me quietly, a man matching that description had been reported near abandoned houses in 3 counties. He targeted teenagers, people exploring alone. He would approach calmly first, offer safer rooms. Some never made it back. They never caught him. But whenever it rains heavily at night, I remember the way his eyes changed when I refused to follow him upstairs. And sometimes, when storms hit hard enough, I swear, I still hear that third stair creak in my dreams. Story 2. The candle room upstairs. Marcus and I had a habit of exploring places we weren't supposed to. We grew up in a small town in southern Ohio, where there wasn't much to do after dark besides drive around or get into trouble. By 17, abandoned buildings felt like harmless adventure. Old factories, empty barns, closed down gas stations. We'd seen them all. But the farmhouse on Carter Hill was different. It sat alone at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by overgrown cornfields and skeletal trees. Built sometime in the early 1900s, vacant for decades. Locals said the last family who lived there left abruptly and never returned. We didn't believe in ghost stories. We believed in boredom. The night we went, rain had just started falling. Not heavy, but steady, enough to soak the fields and turn the dirt road into mud. Lightning flickered far off on the horizon. Marcus grinned at me as we parked near the tree line. Perfect horror movie weather. He joked. The farmhouse looked darker than I remembered. Most windows were boarded up, but one upstairs window glowed faintly orange. We both saw it at the same time. "You see that?" I asked. Marcus nodded slowly. The glow wasn't bright, just dull, flickering, leaking through cracks in the boards. "Probably squatters," he said. "Or candles." He sounded casual, but I heard it. Uncertainty. We grabbed our flashlights and walked through wet grass. The air smelled like damp soil and old wood. Rain tapped softly against broken siding. One downstairs window had no glass left in it, just a torn curtain hanging inside. We climbed through. The living room floor creaked beneath our boots. The air inside felt heavier than outside. Thicker. The house smelled old, but not abandoned. There was a faint warmth in the air. That was wrong. We moved quietly through the first floor. Furniture overturned. Dust everywhere. Rain masked small sounds. But then, a shuffle. From upstairs. Not wind. Footsteps. The orange glow flickered brighter through cracks in the ceiling. Marcus whispered, "You hear that?" I nodded. We climbed the staircase slowly. Each step groaned. The railing wobbled. The hallway upstairs stretched long and narrow. At the far end, beneath the glowing light, stood a closed door. The flickering intensified. Not electric. Firelight. Candlelight. We moved closer. The door was slightly ajar. Marcus leaned forward and pushed it open just enough to see inside. He froze. "What?" I whispered. He didn't answer, so I looked. There were at least 7 people inside, sitting in a circle, motionless, candles placed evenly between them. Their backs faced us. Dark hoods covered their heads. No one spoke. No one moved. The only sound, the steady crackle of candle flames. Rain hit the roof harder. One figure tilted their head slightly, not toward us, toward the center of the circle. We couldn't see what they were facing. Then one of them spoke. "We know you're there." The voice was calm, adult, male. Marcus grabbed my arm. Hard. Another voice joined. "Come in." Not inviting. Expectant. Like they had been waiting. One hooded figure slowly turned toward the doorway. Even under the fabric, I could feel their eyes on us. Marcus stepped back. The wooden floor creaked. That was enough. Every head in the circle turned toward us at the exact same time. Perfectly synchronized. No hesitation. No confusion. Just movement. Then silence. No rain. No wind. Just the soft hiss of candles. The figure closest to the door stood up. Slowly. Too slowly. He was tall. The hood slipped back slightly, and I recognized him. He worked at the local hardware store. Normal guy. Someone I'd seen dozens of times. But his expression wasn't normal now. He smiled. "Don't leave," he said. Marcus didn't wait. He grabbed my jacket, and we ran. The hallway felt longer. The staircase unstable. Behind us, heavy footsteps. More than one. Boots striking wood. Deliberate. Not rushed. Not panicked. Measured. We crashed through the living room window. Glass scraped our arms. Mud swallowed our shoes. Rain poured harder now. Behind us, shouting. Not angry. Not afraid. Almost disappointed. Marcus fumbled with the truck keys. Hands shaking. The engine roared to life. Headlights cut across the farmhouse. And for one split second, we saw them. Figures standing in the upstairs window. Watching us. Still. Unmoving. The next morning, police cars lined Carter Hill. Yellow tape blocked the road. Neighbors had reported smoke. The farmhouse burned nearly to the ground overnight. Authorities ruled it accidental. Old wiring. Candles. But investigators never found remains matching 7 people. No bodies. No evidence of a gathering. And the hardware store employee? He never showed up to work again. Within weeks, his house was empty. Marcus refuses to talk about that night. But sometimes, when rain hits my roof hard enough, I remember how their heads turned, at the exact same time, and how they weren't surprised to see us. They weren't curious. They weren't scared. They were waiting. Story 3. The mining town that wasn't empty. I've always preferred hiking alone. Not because I dislike people, but because the quiet clears my head. A few years ago, I took a week off work and drove north along the west coast, planning to backpack through a remote stretch of forest near the Oregon-California border. The area was known for abandoned mining towns scattered deep in the trees, places swallowed slowly by moss and time. One of those towns sat nearly 12 miles from the nearest paved road. It wasn't marked on most maps anymore. That's exactly why I wanted to see it. The hike started easy. Cool air, light mist hanging between trees, damp earth under my boots. Rain had been falling on and off all week. Not heavy, but steady enough that everything smelled alive and decaying at the same time. By late afternoon, I reached the first signs of a town. A rusted mining cart, half buried in dirt. A collapsed wooden fence. Then buildings. Or what remained of them. Weathered storefronts. Broken windows. Doors hanging slightly ajar. The forest had grown around them rather than through them. Like it was waiting for permission. It felt wrong immediately. Not abandoned. Just paused. I set up my tent about 200 yards outside the town near a creek. I didn't want to sleep inside the structures. Too unstable. As evening settled, fog drifted low across the ground. The town disappeared slowly into gray haze. The only consistent sound was light rain tapping canvas and leaves. Around dusk, I decided to explore before dark. The main street felt untouched. No graffiti, no trash, no footprints besides mine. That detail bothered me. Abandoned places attract people. Someone always leaves something behind. Here, nothing. At the far end of town stood the mine entrance. Dark, carved directly into rock. A wooden sign still hung crooked above it. Rain intensified slightly as I approached. That's when I heard it, a low rumbling sound. At first, I assumed thunder, but the sky wasn't flashing. The rumble didn't roll. It continued steadily, constant. It came from inside the mine. I stepped closer, shined my flashlight into the darkness. The beam vanished after only a few feet. The air flowing out felt colder than the forest. The rumbling didn't stop. It felt mechanical, but mining had stopped here over a century ago. My instincts told me not to go inside, so I didn't. I listened. Then another sound joined it. A faint scrape, metal against rock. I backed away immediately. Night came quickly. Fog thickened. Rain softened. Around midnight, I woke up to silence. No rain, no creak, no wind. Forests are never that quiet. Then a snap. Close. A branch breaking. Heavy. Slow steps followed. Circling. Outside my tent. My breathing turned shallow instantly. The footsteps stopped near the back of the tent. The fabric shifted slightly inward, like something brushed against it. I froze. Then came a smell. Wet metal. The same scent near the mine entrance. The rumbling started again, but this time it wasn't distant. It vibrated through the ground beneath me. Slow, rhythmic, like machinery operating underground. Impossible. I unzipped the tent slightly, shined my flashlight outward. Nothing, just fog and trees. But the forest line felt closer, as if it had shifted. Then I saw it. Not clearly, just movement between trees. A tall shape, standing too still, watching. The beam touched it briefly. It didn't move, didn't flinch. I shut the tent instantly. Adrenaline flooded my body. I packed essentials blindly. Headlamp, water, keys. The footsteps resumed as I moved, keeping pace, not rushing, just following. I ran toward the trail. Branches scraped my arms. Mud soaked my boots. The rumbling grew louder the closer I got to town. And then something was wrong. The path wasn't where I left it. The buildings looked different. The general store windows were boarded. The saloon doors were closed. The mine entrance stood dark, silent. No rumbling, no fog. Everything normal, except one thing. Footprints, fresh, leading from the mine, toward where my tent had been. And beside those footprints mine, parallel, as if someone had walked next to me the entire time. I didn't stop running until sunrise. When I reported it to a ranger later that day, he listened quietly, then said something that made my blood run cold. That town doesn't exist anymore. I showed him the coordinates. He shook his head. That area collapsed decades ago during a landslide. There's nothing left but trees. Search teams confirmed it. No standing structures. No mine entrance. No town. Just dense forest. But days later, while cleaning my gear, I found something in the bottom of my backpack. Something I didn't pack. A small rusted metal tag, stamped with a mining company logo from 1911, and scratched into the back of it 2 parallel lines, like footprints. Story 4. The hospital that still had patients. I never planned to explore the hospital. It wasn't even on our list that night. My friend Tyler and I were driving through upstate New York during a storm, looking for an abandoned factory someone had tagged on an urbex forum. Rain hammered the windshield, wipers barely keeping up. We took a wrong turn down a narrow side road. That's when we saw it. A 4-story brick building, sitting back from the road behind rusted fencing. The sign had fallen over, but faint letters were still visible beneath grime. Ridgeway Memorial Hospital, closed in 1996. Most of the windows were boarded, but not all. One on the 3rd floor was completely uncovered, and when lightning flashed, I swear I saw movement behind it. Probably rain reflection, Tyler said quickly, but neither of us looked away. The front gates were partially open, not forced, just hanging loose. We parked anyway. The rain made the place feel alive. Water streamed down the brick walls like tears. Inside, the lobby still had a reception desk. Dust covered everything. Broken ceiling tiles littered the floor. The air smelled old. Paper. Mildew. Our flashlights sliced through the darkness. Every sound echoed. Dripping ceilings. Wind slipping through cracked glass. We found the stairwell near the back. Elevators were long dead. Doors frozen halfway open. 3rd floor, Tyler asked. I nodded. As we climbed, I kept hearing something faint beneath the rain. A soft wheeled sound, like something rolling slowly across tile. When we reached the 3rd floor, the hallway stretched long and narrow. Patient rooms lined both sides. Beds still inside some rooms. Sheets stiff with age. The rolling sound came again. Closer. I turned my flashlight toward the nurse's station and froze. A wheelchair sat there, facing us. It hadn't been there seconds earlier. I didn't see that before, Tyler whispered. Neither had I. We approached slowly. The chair looked cleaner than everything else. Less dust, less rust, as if it had been moved recently. Lightning flashed through the uncovered window, and in that flash, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The wheels were wet. Water dripped slowly onto the tile floor, like it had just come in from outside. But we were 3 floors up. The rolling sound came again. Behind us, we spun around. Another wheelchair now sat halfway down the hallway, facing away from us. The rain intensified. pounding broken glass. "Someone's here," Tyler said. His voice cracked. We started backing toward the stairwell. That's when a door slammed shut, hard, echoing through the entire floor. My flashlight beam shook as I scanned room to room. One patient room near the end of the hall had its light on. Not electric. Orange. Candlelight. The air felt heavy, like it was watching. "Let's just go," I whispered. But Tyler stepped forward. Curiosity wins sometimes. As we approached, the smell hit first. Not mildew. Not dust. Something clinical. Antiseptic. The door was nearly closed. Just a narrow gap left. I pushed it open gently. The room was empty. No candles. No light source. Just an old hospital bed in the center. And something resting on it. A hospital gown. Folded neatly. Still damp. Beneath it, fresh footprints. Leading from the bed toward the hallway. Then we heard it. Slow wheels rolling. Coming from the stairwell. Not upstairs. Not downstairs. On our level. Moving toward us. We ran. Full sprint. Flashlights bouncing across peeling paint. The sound followed steadily. Not fast, but never stopping. When we reached the stairwell, something blocked it. A gurney, positioned sideways across the doorway. It hadn't been there before. The rolling stopped. Silence. Then a voice came softly from behind us. "Visiting hours aren't over." Old. Worn. Like someone who had been speaking all day. We didn't turn around. We shoved the gurney aside and ran. Down the stairs. Outside, the rain felt heavier than ever. As Tyler started the engine, lightning lit up the third-floor window. And there, clear as anything, a figure stood behind the glass, wearing a hospital gown, watching us. Police later confirmed the building was sealed. No one officially inside. No break-ins. No homeless reports. But when we showed them Tyler's footage, something strange stood out. In the background of one clip, recorded before we ever went upstairs, a wheelchair can be seen moving slowly across the third-floor window, from left to right, before we even entered the building. The hospital was demolished last year, but I still dream about that voice, echoing down the hallway. Visiting hours aren't over. And sometimes, during heavy rain, I swear I hear wheels rolling somewhere behind me. Story 5. The tunnel beneath the school. I didn't plan to explore a school. Schools feel different from abandoned factories or empty houses. They hold memories. Laughter. Noise. Walking through one at night felt heavier somehow. The old Jefferson Elementary had been boarded up for nearly 15 years. Built in the 1940s. Closed in the early 2000s after funding cuts and structural concerns. Locals avoided it, not because of ghosts, because of what happened before it shut down. 2 maintenance workers disappeared during renovation work. Official explanation? Structural collapse in a sealed section. Unofficial explanation? No bodies were ever recovered. My friend Aaron and I went during a storm. Rain hammered the town hard enough to keep everyone inside. Perfect cover. The fence had a bent section low enough to crawl under. The building loomed dark against lightning flashes. We entered through a broken side door near the cafeteria. The smell hit immediately. Old chalk dust, mold, and something faintly sour. Rainwater leaked through parts of the ceiling, dripping steadily onto tile floors. Our footsteps echoed too loudly. Lockers lined the hallway, some doors hanging open. Room 204. Music. Science lab. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt paused. We checked the gym first. Basketball hoops still hanging. Water dripping on a hardwood. Then, a metallic clang. Close. Like a locker door slamming. Aaron froze. "Wind," he muttered. But there was no wind. We stepped back into the hallway. Several locker doors that had been open were now closed. One of them shook slightly, as if something had hit it from the inside. We stepped back instinctively. The shaking stopped. Silence returned. We continued toward the basement. That's where renovation work had happened before the school closed. The staircase creaked beneath us. The air grew colder. At the bottom, the hallway narrowed. Concrete walls. Exposed pipes. A heavy metal door stood at the end, slightly open. Water pooled beneath it. Aaron nudged it wider. The room looked disturbed. Dust patterns broken. Footprints visible in thin layers of dirt. 2 sets. Ours weren't the first. Against one wall were stacked desks. And in the center of the floor, an opening, cut into the concrete. Not original design. A tunnel, roughly carved, reinforced with wooden beams. Maintenance shaft? Aaron whispered. It looked deeper than that. Expanded manually. Rain intensified above us. Then we heard it. A low scraping sound. from within the tunnel. Slow, dragging, like something heavy being pulled. Aaron aimed his flashlight downward. The beam disappeared into darkness. Then, movement. Not clear, just shadow shifting. We stepped back at the same time. The scraping grew louder, followed by breathing. Not animal, human, labored, wet, close enough to echo. "Someone's down there," Aaron whispered. The breathing stopped instantly. Then a voice. Soft, hoarse. "Help." One word, barely audible. Every instinct told me something was wrong. It didn't sound desperate. It sounded rehearsed. "Help." Exactly the same tone. Exactly the same spacing. Aaron stepped toward the tunnel. I grabbed his jacket. No, because repetition like that wasn't natural. Lightning flashed through a small basement window. In that split second, I saw something on the wall behind us. Imprints. Dozens. Layered over each other. Some small, some large. All pressed outward toward the exit. The scraping resumed. Closer now. The breathing louder. "Help." But this time, it came from directly behind us. We spun around. The metal door we entered through was almost closed, moving slowly inward, as if pushed from the other side. Aaron ran first. I followed without looking back. As we reached the stairs, locker doors upstairs began slamming, one after another. Bang, 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 echoing through the building. We didn't stop until we crawled back under the fence into the rain. Lightning illuminated the school one last time, and in a second-floor window, several shapes stood behind the glass. Too still, too aligned, watching. Police later searched the school after reports of trespassing increased. They sealed the basement permanently. The tunnel extended far beyond original blueprints, nearly connecting to old utility systems beneath town. No evidence of homeless activity, no remains found, but investigators did find something near the tunnel entrance. A small handheld recorder, still powered on. Inside were dozens of recordings, each one the same. A voice repeating one word, "Help," perfectly spaced, perfectly timed. Like bait, the school was demolished 2 years later. But during excavation, a construction worker reportedly quit. He claimed he heard knocking beneath the ground during heavy rain. 3 slow knocks. Pause. Then breathing.